Hi, it's me, Zuri. And today I'm going to just make a different video from all the other ones that I've made. Today is kind of a slow news day. I didn't really see much going on to really talk about. So I just thought it'd be fun just to talk about some personal things from my real life. Some interactions that I've had with celebrities. It's nothing like really salacious or juicy because I'm just a normal person. And all of these interactions that I've had with famous people have been just by chance, like coincidental, just either at work, at one of my jobs, or just walking down the street, or just they were mostly just random, and a lot of them, some of them are even from the internet. But I just thought I'd do this because I know in our culture and in our lives, we are obsessed with celebrities and famous people, and for some reason, we like to live vicariously through them, I guess. And so that's why I thought it'd be interesting to talk about. I know they're just, regular people, just like you and I. They do, they vomit, poop, pee, and pick their nose like we all do. There's really nothing that makes them more special than anyone else except for the fact that they're famous and they're well known, which can, be a positive thing to some people, depending on how you look at it. I don't know if I would want to. I've thought about wanting, to be famous when I was younger. I did want to be an actress, but as I got older and I just seen how some of them have to go through with being stalked and harassed all the time. I'm not sure if I want to deal with that because I don't even like being stalked right now or harassed by people. Like if I'm out in public, I just like to be to myself. I'm kind of a quiet person. I'm an introvert like that. So I think that would bother me. Always having people coming up to talk to me all the time. That would probably drive me crazy. But, I guess when you're a kid, you just have those dreams and fantasies because you're watching TV and you think it's cool, but you don't know the reality of it. But however, I would like to have the money that they have because, who doesn't need money, It'd be nice to be able to leave something to my son when I'm gone. So I am going to talk about just interaction. There's nothing salacious, like I said, there's nothing juicy. This is just probably the most boring list of celebrity interactions that you ever seen or heard in your life. So don't be disappointed when you don't see there's not any tea or anything in here. There's just a tiny little bit, but it's nothing huge. So, and I'm just going to say, I'm just a regular person. I'm not like, it wasn't like, I don't go out to clubs or things like that. Like, these are just random. So, anyway, one time, the first person I'm going to mention is probably, to me, the most special out of all of the interactions that I had. And that one was when I was walking down the street downtown in Minneapolis, just minding my own business. I see a motorcade. When I look to my right, I'm like, oh, that's cool, and I see these limousines and, or the motorcade is when they have the police in the front on the motorcycles, and then you have them in the back. And I was like, okay, this is pretty cool. This must be someone really important. And all of a sudden, the window rolls down of one of the limousines, and this guy just starts waving at me. And I kind of waved back at him, a little bit, because I was like, who is this dude? Why is he waving at me? And I was like, he looks really familiar. And I just went about my time and thought about it. And I was like, where do I know this dude from? I was just thinking, where do I know him from? Where do I know him? Then it dawned on me that, oh my God, Nelson Mandela just waved at me. Like, I was just like, wow. I was still in disbelief that he just waved at me. This is before the days of the internet being really popular. I can't remember exactly what year it was in. It was in the early 2000s, I believe. I'm pretty sure. But it was before you know, you had camera phones. I mean, yeah, all of that. And just, you know, ways to take a picture or talk about it on the internet. So I remember I went and got my hair braided the next day at African braiding salon. And I asked one of the African, I was like, was Nelson Mandela here by any chance yesterday? Do you know anything about that? And they was like, yeah, he was here. I was like, oh my gosh. So that confirmed it. But it was pretty cool because I grew up with his picture on the wall in my living room. My mom had a picture of him, Martin Luther King, and Malcolm X. So it's kind of cool to see this person that you grew up looking at on your wall every day in real life, just waving at you randomly. So I put that as number one because that was the coolest thing. The second person on my list that I wrote, and this isn't in any particular order, I was just trying to remember because there's quite a few. The second one was I saw Kobe Bryant downtown in Minneapolis once, and it was during that trial for the assault case that he was going through. I saw him, and he was coming out of the Crown Plaza downtown in Minneapolis, and there was a ton of reporters there taking pictures of him. He was getting on his bus, and on the bus was the other Lakers. I saw on the bus, there was tinted windows, but you could still see through the windows a little bit, and I saw Rick Fox, you know, who was, I always thought was just a good-looking guy. He was just staring at me, you know. I looked around like, hey, you know, but yeah, Kobe, he left the hotel. He didn't say anything to any of the reporters. He just kept going. And that was that. He got on the bus and, you know, I was done. I walked away after that. So that was cool. Some of these men are sports figures. So Dante Culpepper, he used to play for the Minnesota Vikings. I saw him downtown in Minneapolis before at a smoke shop, and I talked to him. I think I shook his hand. He was a really nice guy. He's really cool. I ended up working at the Metrodome where he played with the Minnesota Vikings. So I ended up seeing him all the time, and he was just always really nice and always really cool. I used to guard the cheerleaders' locker room. So I saw him and Chris Carter. Chris Carter was trying to look in the he looked in the cheerleaders' locker room one time, and none of them were in there. They were all out. So, and I was guarding the locker room, and I should have said, like, what are you doing to him? But I was like kind of intimidated because it was Chris Carter. So that was kind of crazy. Randy Moss would always run to his dressing room. He never talked to any press, never talked to anyone. He never did anything. He would just run to his dressing room. It was like the most coolest job in the world. I would leave my post from guarding the cheerleaders' locker. I'm surprised I didn't get fired. But I would leave and I would go and eat food from the press table and take it back to my post with me. I remember all the cheerleaders were really nice back then. And I remember Michael Bennett being really nice, who was also a player with the Minnesota Vikings. I got hit on by a Seattle Seahawk. I don't remember his name, but he kept coming. Every time he would go past, he would say something to me. I was eating on a sandwich, and he was like, can I get a piece of that sandwich? And just saying things like that to me. And I was kind of nervous. I've always been kind of shy, so I was just like, yeah, you know. But I think that was probably 2003. I should have wrote the years down for this. It was probably 2003, I'm thinking. 2003, 2004, somewhere around that time. But it was just a fun job, just cool interactions. The next interaction I had was I saw Ariana Grande when I worked at the Moda Center, which is here in Portland, Oregon. I was working as a cook, and I was probably coming from smoking outside, and I saw this tiny little woman. She's very small and petite and thin. She was walking with these two guys, and I was just like, you know, who was that at first? And I didn't even know who she was at first, to be honest with you, because she's like, you know, much younger than I am, and she's like in a whole nother generation from my generation. So I was just like, it took me some time to realize that was her. But when I walked past her, she did smile at me really big. She seemed like a nice person. She, you know, had a really nice smile. I remember walking past her dressing room, and it smelled like straight up weed. So that's probably why she was smiling, because she was probably high as hell. But anyway, it was a nice encounter. The next encounter I had with a celebrity, it wasn't so nice, and it's probably one of the juiciest ones. It's not really juicy though, but one time I was working at an event downtown in Minneapolis at Macy's. They were doing an event for, I think, for the House of Darion, which is a line that Beyonce launched with her mom. Kelly Rowland was there, and she walked through the back kitchen area where we were working. And like celebrities do, sometimes they go in the back elevators and things like that, so they don't have to be around the normal people. And I remember being so excited and like, oh my God, that's Kelly Rowland. I think this was 2006. Yeah, because I went to Mexico that year. I had these blonde and black braids in my hair. And I remember seeing her and smiling like, oh my God, because I was a huge Destiny's Child fan when I was younger. And I still am a fan of their music. So when I saw her, I was just like happy, like, oh my God, this is like the closest thing I've been to, Beyonce, who, is one of the biggest stars in the world. And as I smiled at her, she just gave me the most nastiest look, like the most stank look, like, bitch, don't smile at me. Like, she gave me a stank look that she did not smile back. And I was like, wow, you think that some of these people are going to be nice when you meet them, when you see them, and then you see them and it's just like, okay. And just to make sure that she wasn't just having a bad moment or something. I ended up working, clearing tables. That's what I was doing. And I was serving that night, but I was clearing tables off in the VIP area that she was in. And here she made eye contact with me again. She was sitting on this couch, and I saw Beyonce's mom. She was standing like probably about 10 feet from me, taking pictures with people. With one of those walls, I forgot what they're called. They have the ads on the back. I can't remember what they're called. But anyway, she was taking pictures with people. Then I saw Kelly Rowland. She looked at me, and she was talking to this dude. Next thing you know, this dude the security comes over and tells me to leave the area. And he's like, we don't need you over here. We have enough people over here. So I don't know if she has something to do with that, but it was just really a weird coincidence that he asked me to leave right after she looked at me and was talking to someone. So I don't know. That always left a bad taste in my mouth, to be honest with you, because I was like, dude, I'm a fan of yours. Like, you would at least expect, I know I'm at work. I'm not like gonna go up to give me your autograph or nothing like that, but you would at least expect that they would at least smile back at you when you smile at them. But I just go to show you, that some of these people are just, not as nice as you would think they would be. Some of them are assholes. I would expect that Ariana Grande to be more stuck up than Kelly Rowland. So that's just interesting because everybody loves Kelly so much. They're like, she's so amazing. Oh, she's better than Beyonce. I love her. And then in my mind, I'm thinking that bitch, because of that event. I'll never forget that. You never forget when somebody's rude to you. Especially somebody whose music you just grew up. I listened to them all. Since I was a teenager, I was listening to Destiny's Child. Since they came out with No, No, No. No, 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 no. When it's really yes, 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 yes. All right, I'm not going to torture you. The next person on my list is, damn, I can't even read my own handwriting. Jesus Christ. Oh, Tweety from the group Next. They sing that, baby, when we're grinding, I get so excited. Ooh, how I like it. I try, but I can't fight it. Anyways, I saw him at a gas station that I used to work at. I wasn't working at the time. I was just hanging out outside. I think it was Super America. It was downtown in Minneapolis, a little on the outskirts of downtown. And I was just hanging out like there for some reason with my coworkers, just talking to them, shooting the shit. And next thing you know, I look across from me and there's this dude. And I'm like, oh, he looks really familiar. And I didn't know who he was. And then he puts like he takes a magazine. He was standing by the magazine. He put the magazine with his picture up, like next to his face. And I'm like, oh, that's dude, from Next. That's Tweety. And then, so he comes over. And, I think I went over to him and I talked to him a little bit. And then I ended up getting the magazine that he had. And he signed it for me. And then I bought it. And he was asking me questions like, so what are you doing? And what are you about to do? I was like, I'm going home, because that's just me. I'm not a groupie. I've never been a groupie. I don't really, I don't know. I don't get that excited for celebrities like that. I don't understand the whole groupie thing either. That's just me. But another person from the same group, RL, one time back in the day. This is the old back in the days of MySpace. I saw him, and I mean, I didn't see him. He sent me a message on MySpace, and he was I think it was on Thanksgiving because I was working security at the time, and we were just talking, and he was asking me what was I doing, and trying to get me to hang out with him and stuff, and I was just like, I'm good. I was in a relationship too at the time, but like I said, I'm not a groupie. I get it. I get a little starstruck, like, oh, but I'm just not like, okay, I'm ready to go and sleep with you. I mean, if anything, I'd be a groupie for this guy back here. See, I'm out Jimi Hendrix. Like, if he was alive, maybe, because that's Jimi Hendrix. He's like one of my favorite musicians, but there's nobody here that I really get it that wet for them. Like, I just gotta, you know, oh, you know. So I didn't really. I was just like, I'm good. I'm gonna go home after work, chill at home. But anyway, on to the next person. Samaya Reese. She's not really famous, but I think she was on some reality shows. And she was hitting on me on MySpace too. This is before she was like out the closet and stuff and with women. She was just telling, like, flirting with me a little bit, like, oh, you look good, and just blah, blah. Just little flirtations, friendly, nothing really, major. She would she would actually comment on my pictures and stuff, too, which is kind of funny. So, who else is next? I have, some of these people I'm not even going to talk about. And I have a lot of politicians that I've seen. I'm not going to bore people with that because some of you probably don't even know who some of these politicians are. I will say Walter Mondale. He was the vice president of the United States at some point. He waved at me too one time from his car. And he was campaigning for senator at the time in Minnesota because the incumbent Senator Paul Wellstone had died in a plane crash. So Walter Mondale took over, and he took his place, was running in his place. And I lived close to the headquarters where Paul Wellstone worked. It was like literally right by my house. And it was really crazy after he died, like watching CNN and seeing my apartment building on the news, the national news. It was really weird and surreal. But after he died, there was just a lot of flowers everywhere. It was really crazy. It was really eerie to walk past that every day. But yeah, just seeing Walter Mondale, he just kind of waved at me. And he's probably just in the neighborhood because he was, either on his way to the office or leaving from the office. So I just put that in there just because he was a vice president. And I think he was the vice president to, oh my God, who was he the vice president to? Dan Quayle, maybe? I think that's who he was vice president during that time. Or was it Reagan? I don't know. I feel stupid because I don't even know. Anyway, that was a long time ago. That was probably back in 2002, maybe. I think so. But on the next one, some of these people, I'm not even going to mention them because I used to work at a theater downtown in St. Paul, and I would just see people. I met Melba Moore. I didn't really know who she was, but a lot of the older people I worked with knew who she was, and she was really nice. And she autographed the program for me from the theater that I worked at. Who else? Oh, there's one of the most famous violin players in the world. His name is Joshua Bell. I saw him at that theater that I worked at. He was leaving, and I saw him, and I knew he was because I listened to Josh Groban. And I was like, my sister loves your song that you're on with Josh Groban, your collaboration, Me Manquerai. And I think he was just like so impressed that somebody black knew who he was. He like kind of put his arm around me. He was like a half hug. And it was just super cool. He seemed like a nice guy. I think his violin is like worth like Stradivarius. I hope I'm saying that right. It's worth like $6 million, which is insane. But yeah, they did a video where he was playing music in a subway one time, and nobody knew who he was. People were just like going, like only like one person knew who he was, one or two people knew, and one of the people I just saw him the previous night performing. So he's a very down-to-earth person from what I know out of, because he is very famous, like in the classical music circles. They know who he is, but most of you probably don't know who he is. I would be very impressed if they do. Joshua Bell had a song with Josh Groban, who I'm a huge fan of. And Josh Groban retweeted me one time on Twitter, which I thought was cute. It was funny. It was back in 2012. So I saw Kevin Garnett and some people from Cash Money back in the day. I think it was 2004, maybe. It was around that time, 2003 through 2004, when I was working there. I was off work, and I was just like, just chilling, watching a game. I would stay and watch the football games sometimes after work. And I looked over at the suite, and he was there. And I'm not going to lie to you, I did fan out. Not for me, but for my nephews, because they liked him, and they knew, I had Kevin Garnett shoes back in the day, and I didn't even know that they were Kevin Garnett's until somebody told me. That's how much I know about basketball. So I tried to take a picture of him, and he was pissed off, which I can understand, because he was just trying to relax. And but his friend, whoever the dude was, he kept trying to holler at me. But like I said, I just was like, I wasn't really impressed. Never been a groupie. So I was just like, I'm trying to get a picture of your friend to show my nephews, so he didn't think I was just some weirdo. That same day, I saw Sam Cassell, who played for the Timberwolves, I think. Yeah, I saw him walking, and somebody's like, that's Sam Cassell. And he was just kept walking with a hood on his head. There was some more Cash Money people there. Lil Wayne could have been there for all I know, and I probably I would have known who he was, but I didn't see him. But he's like the only person that I really recognized from Cash Money. But I know everyone kept saying that they were there, and I saw Norm Coleman there, who was a politician. He was a senator of Minnesota. I know, but he's boring. Like I said, I've seen a lot of politicians. Some of them I just skipped over because it's just so boring. Like, who cares? I don't even know this dude's name, but the dude that sings with Macklemore, that thrift shop song, I met him before at this Jimi Hendrix Park opening. And I took a picture with him, and I think he was the MC, but he was a nice guy, nonetheless. So I didn't mention him. I don't remember his name. Sorry. I just haven't really seen him in too many things to really know his name. Another one is, God, I don't remember this dude's name. Well, I had to look it up. I feel. Okay, Darius McCray. Okay, he was Eddie Winslow. I wrote Eddie Winslow down, but I'm like, that's not the dude's name. That was his character. Yeah, he was on Family Matters. My interaction with him is that he called my sister one time. She got his number. She met him at, he was doing a play. I think The Maintenance Man, downtown in Minneapolis. And he saw her and he liked her. And my sister is a groupie. Yeah, she's messed with a few dudes, and I don't think any of them are like A-list or B-list. They probably like D-E-list, like DJs and things like that. But he was probably one of the most popular dudes she messed with. And he called, and he was like, called to talk to her. And it was just really weird being on the phone with Eddie Winslow. Like somebody you grew up watching on TV, Yeah. So that's my little story about that. I told you this was boring. There's nothing salacious, really. It's almost over. Oh, I saw Redman, the rapper, from Wu-Tang, running for airplane one time when I worked at the Minneapolis airport. Minneapolis St. Paul airport, and he was like, he looked at me, he's like, "Hey, what's happening, baby?" And then he just ran to his plane. It was funny. It was just the most random thing, and I'm like, "That's Red Man." And somebody else recognized him too. They was like, "Red Man." But yeah, here's Faulkner, who works for Fox News now. She worked for KSTP back in the day when I lived in Minneapolis, the Twin Cities, because I lived in both cities. And KSTP was kind of in between both cities. And she worked there as a news anchor, and I used to see her all the time because I worked there really briefly as a cook. And, you know, she seemed really nice back in the day. And I saw her at the airport too. I sent her an Instagram not that long ago to try to get an interview with her because I write for a newspaper at the school that I'm in. And she completely ignored my message, but, you know, whatever. Now she's on Fox, and, you know, she's probably not who she was back in the day, because this was like 20 years ago when I saw her, when I worked at the station with her. So, yeah, she definitely doesn't want to do any interviews with any of the low people, you know. That's one thing I can't stand about some of these celebrities. They just think that they're like so much better than everybody else. You know, and it's our fault, you know, and I'm contributing to it with this list, but I'm just doing it just because somebody might be interested in hearing this. I saw Allen Iverson downtown in Minneapolis, hang outside this strip club called Augie's. There was nothing really, you know, amazing about that. I saw Fred Armisen, who was from Saturday Night Live. He's a comedian. He was also on a show here in Portland called Portlandia. Oh, that's filmed in Portland called Portlandia. I just saw him on set, pretty much, filming by a place that I worked, and I did want to talk to him, but I was kind of nervous. I feel kind of stupid, like, walking up to celebrities to talk to them, you know, like, hey, and I don't know, it just feels weird, but that was that. And, Sean Paul, one time I left a message for him on Twitter, and I said to him, "You're the only black person to ever mention my name in a song." And he must have really been impressed by that, because he started following me after that, and I thought that was cool. The song I'm talking about is Get Busy. But my real name is Rebecca, and he says my name in that song. So, the last one I'm going to talk about is Darno Rawlins. This is most recent. This was like last month. I left a comment on his Instagram, and he like roasted me. But then I tagged him in a video on my Instagram. Darno Rawlins, if you don't know who he is, he was on the Chappelle Show. He's a famous comedian. He has